Hey everyone, Brad with Woodsy Leather coming to you with part 2 on how to rebind a Bible. In the previous video, we removed the old cover, we prepared the text block for the rebind, installed new ribbons and headbands and tailbands, and in this video we're going to take measurements of the Bible itself. So I'm measuring from top to bottom here. You can see that it's 7 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm using this tailor's tape, which I have found works really well. I use this for pretty much all of my measurements. Place it up under the text block and then wrap it around the text block. Don't pull too tightly, but you want to get your measurement there. So we have 7 3/8 by 11 3/8. So that's going to be the measurement. And then what I do is, I learned this from other videos and from another rebinder, I just add 3/16 of an inch for the fold over. So when I started doing this, I wasn't adding the 3/16 of an inch and the liner was coming up short. So that'll give you enough of a measurement to make it pretty much equal on both sides. All right, so the liner ends up being 7 3/8 by 11 9/16. All right, now I'm going to grab the leather I'm going to be using for this particular Bible, which is the Seagull Scarlet River Grain Goat Skin. I'm going to be using this leather for both the liner as well as the exterior cover. So I want to begin by measuring the leather, the liner, making the specific marks. I'm just using a gel pen, a silver gel pen, to make these marks. Then I'll flip the leather around and make the other marks, 11 9/16. And once these marks have been made, then I'll just take my ruler and I'm going to begin to straighten out these lines here just so that it's easier to see. Then I'm going to grab my metal ruler and get the leather aligned on the markings that I've made. I try to be real particular about this because I want to make sure the cut is straight, and I do cut the leather beforehand using this L-shaped ruler just to make sure that I've got a straight edge that I'm working with. Just using a rotary cutter here. That's a great tool. So once I've got that piece of leather cut out for the liner, then I'm going to measure half. I know there's a couple ways that people do this. Sometimes they'll fold the leather in half and make the mark that way. I'm just going to measure from one side to the other. I've also seen some other rebinders use a piece of paper and fold the paper in half to get the middle. I just like to measure it just to make sure that I'm accurate with my measurements. So I'm going to measure the halfway point, which is going to be 5 25/32. Then I'm going to take my quilting ruler and just line that up and make a mark right down the center where I'm going to be cutting out the tabs for the specific liner. At this point, I want to make sure that I've got the width of the spine. So I'm going to measure using my tailor's tape to make sure that I've got the right measurement. So the spine is going to be 1 1/4 inches. And then we're going to have to get the halfway point of that, which is going to be 5/8. So I'm just going to take and use my tailor's tape again and just mark 5/8 of an inch on either side of the center. And I know there are multiple ways to do this. This is just the method that I prefer, so feel free to use whatever method for getting your measurements on the liner that you desire to use. Then I'll use the quilting ruler again and make a straight mark just so I'll know where I need to fold the tab. And this really helps when you're folding, just to make sure that your fold on the tab is in alignment. All right, once that's done, then I'll do 3/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom of the liner where I'm going to be cutting. And then at this point, we're ready to take the utility knife and begin to cut the line. Now, I will forewarn you here, I can't tell you how many liners I have messed up just because my cut has not been straight, or either I've cut too far in the liner. You want to be very precise in your cutting of the liner, because once you cut through it, you can't go back and redo it. So I don't always cut from the end of the line, and you'll see in just a moment. I'm going to go back and cut with my utility knife the part that I didn't cut. I just try to be careful not to go all the way to the edge, and sometimes I'll even use my scissors to get it as close as I can. So I'm cutting the liner here just to make sure the tabs are completely cut through. And then at this point, we're ready to fold the tabs back that are going to be attached to the Bible. I'm using my bone folder here just to make sure that they're pressed down and there's a good crease on the line that I've made. You can see that on the back as I flip the liner over. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just fold it over, then use the bone folder just to press down really well to get these tabs cut and folded back. All right, the next step is going to be rounding the corners. I know that you can use a number of different tools for this. What I have found that works really well is just a penny. I'll just take and place the penny on the leather in the corner, and I'll just cut out the rounded edges using my utility knife. Again, I know there are multiple ways that you can go about doing this. I just find that the penny works really well. There are even tools that you can purchase that'll help you to cut the corner. You just place the tool over the corner, tap it with a hammer or mallet, and then you can cut it. All right, so now it's going to be time to actually attach the liner to the exterior cover. These tools that I'm showing here are tools that my son has actually helped me design. We created these with a 3D printer. They're just measured at 3/8 of an inch, and it really helps when I go to attach the liner to my exterior cover. So I'm taping down my exterior cover that I'm going to be using. Make sure that's taped down really well. And then I'm just going to take the guide that we've made and slide it up to the edge of the exterior cover. On either side, you can see that it's L-shaped there. And then once I've got it in place, I'll just tape that down. And what this helps with is it's measured at 3/8 of an inch. So when I place my liner up next to this L-shaped tool that I've made, it just guarantees that I'm going to have 3/8 of an inch all the way around the exterior of the Bible for the yap. You can see at the bottom there, the red tool, I'm also attaching that. And again, that's measured at 3/8 of an inch. So when I slide it up to the exterior piece of liner, it's 3/8 of an inch away from the exterior. So now I'm going to place my liner over top of the exterior cover. Just make some marks here so that when I'm applying my glue, I know how far to apply the glue. And I've learned over the course of rebinding that it helps, I've found that it helps to apply glue to both the liner as well as the exterior cover. And then I also am very careful to sand down both the exterior cover and the liner, just lightly to make it rough. I believe that helps it to adhere better. So now I'm applying the PVA glue to both the exterior cover. You can see there on the left. Just want to make sure that I've got enough glue applied and give it just a little bit of time to dry, or to dry just slightly. You don't want it to completely dry, but with the PVA glue, you do have just a little bit of time to work with it. You can continue to move it around just a few minutes or so. But I'm applying the PVA glue to the exterior cover. Again, the exterior cover as well as the liner are both this Seagull Scarlet River Grain goat skin. So again, applying the PVA glue to the liner at this point. Make sure I've got enough glue. Again, I know there's multiple methods for doing this as well. If you have another method that works for you, by all means, go for it. I've just found that this really works well for me. And I did have some rebinds initially that the liner was coming detached from the exterior cover. I was not sanding it down, and I wasn't applying glue to both sides. So this is just what seems to work for me. So apply the PVA glue to both the exterior cover, or the inside of the exterior cover, and then to the back side of the liner. So just want to make sure that's applied well. Make sure that I use enough PVA glue. Then at this point, I'm ready to place it on top of the exterior cover. Make sure that it's butted up against the L-shaped tool that I have developed here to give me the right yap around the exterior of the Bible. Again, this is measured at 3/8 of an inch. I've also done some Bibles that are 1/2 inch yap. And again, there's multiple methods to go about doing this, but I found that this works really well for me. So just want to make sure that it's pressed down well. I'm using the bone folder. I'm going to take off the guide that I've made there, and I'm just going to use my roller to make sure there are not any bubbles up under the liner or in between the liner and the exterior cover. Make sure that that's pressed down well. And then I'm just using a rag as well as my fingernail to get any exposed glue that's come out from the liner. Rolling it down really well. Make sure that my tab is not glued down if any glue were to have spread out up under the tab. And then I'm going to take and do the exact same thing on the opposite side, applying the PVA glue to both the cover as well as the liner. And then using my brush just to spread it out real well. Again, if you have other methods that you're using for this step, by all means, be sure to throw those in the comment section. This is a process for learning. This is not the one and only way to go about rebinding a Bible. It's just a method that seems to work for me, so I hope it'll be helpful for you. But I just apply the glue again to the liner as well as the cover. Make sure that it's spread out well. Give it just a few minutes to dry slightly before I apply it. You do want it to be somewhat sticky when you apply it and not just runny liquid. Again, there's many steps to rebinding a Bible. I don't think folks that have not done a rebind realize just how much is involved, and there's even more involved in those rebinders that do far more superior work than mine with stitching the perimeter of the Bible, tooling the Bible, using a hot foil stamping machine on the liner as well as the spine. So there's many steps involved in Bible rebinding. So I'm using my roller here just to get any of the air bubbles out from in between the liner and the exterior cover, wiping off any excess glue that's around the perimeter of the liner. Just making sure that it's pressed down well. And you don't see it in this step, but once I finish cutting the cover, I will then insert the cover in between two pieces of cardboard that have actually been taped together, and then I'll sit some weight on top of it just to let it sit and make sure that it has some time to adhere well, at least for a few hours. All right, at this point, I'm ready to cut the rest of the excess leather off of the cover, so you can see that two sides of the cover already has the 3/8 of an inch gap on it. So I'm using this little measuring tool, and I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch on the top of the Bible. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just flip the cover around and measure on the side of it as well. Let me go ahead and cut this, make sure that it's lined up well, lined up straight. Again, this is one of those things you have to be very tedious about. You can't go back and recut once you've cut, so you want to make sure that your measurements are right. Can't overemphasize the importance of that. You do really want to measure twice and only cut once. So I'm using this quilting ruler. It works really well, just lining it up with 3/8 of an inch. Using the quilting ruler, make sure that it's held down well, and then cut that. So I've got the Bible liner installed. The exterior cover is attached to that. I'm going to flip it over now and go ahead and take my penny and round the corners off, and you can see how that's done as I go around and do each of these corners. Again, I know there are multiple methods for doing this. There's tools that you can just place on the leather and hit it with your mallet that'll cut them for you. I just like to do it with the penny. I think it turns out nice. All right, so all four corners have been cut. The liner has now been attached to the exterior cover. Then I'm just going to test it out here by taking my text block and inserting it into the tabs that I've cut out, just to make sure that my measurements were indeed correct. All right, that concludes part 2 of how to rebind a Bible. I hope this video has been an encouragement to you. If so, please be sure to leave a comment below and let me know that. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with your friends. Look out for the next video, part 3 of how to rebind a Bible. Thanks for watching.